I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop here. It's Tuesday, November 11th. Welcome in, kiddos. Whether you're watching live, listening live, or watching later, or listening later does not matter. We appreciate it. If you are on the podcast, watching and listening later, we do go live every day at 10 a.m. Live on X, live on YouTube, also on the Puck Sports mobile app. Download it today to your smartphone, Android, Apple. It's both available in both stores. But it does not matter how you take in the Daily Puck Drop, your daily sports podcast, which, of course, is brought to you by and inside the world-renowned Limbach Lumber Studios, contractors and do-it-yourselfers. They're going to take care of you there at Limbach Lumber. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. They got all your lumber needs, and they've been doing it since 1930. So you know what? They know what they're doing there at Limbach Lumber. Also visit their website at limbachlumber.com. You can visit me on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports, everywhere except for the old TikTok, which is Puck_sports. Put all of our video clips of every single show up there daily. Also, you can visit pucksports.com. There you can check out the standings for Puck Survivor. You can also find all of our videos and audio from our shows up there, and that's where you can sign up to become a Puck's Posse member for as little as $5 a month. We've got to announce haven't done it in a bit, haven't done it for November. We're going to announce a Puck's Posse $100 gift card today. We'll do that coming up at the end of the show. In the chat, if I get to the end of the show and I forget, remind me, please. Also, we've got a brand new Inside Pitch GM Meetings edition from Las Vegas coming up here with Ryan Divish later today. That will come out. And just for Puck's Posse members, so exclusive for members only. Also coming out later today, Old Crimson with myself, Jim Moore, and the go-to guy. Well, Jim Moore is the go-to guy. And Paul Sorensen. That comes out later as well. That is free and available on all platforms. I'm going to tell you, it got spicy. We recorded it this morning, 30-plus minutes, and it was all on NIL. And it was based off of the Q&A that the president of the school did at a recent Cougs first event in Spokane. And the basic question to Cougar fans is, you show up like on social media, why don't you show up with your wallet? And I don't understand. It will amaze people when you listen to Old Crimson how many people are actually active members of the collective. Frankly, it's embarrassing. Really. It's just amazing how low it is. And how little it really takes to get to a certain threshold that she wants to get to. All right, so that's coming up later today. Those will be released later today. Coming up on today's show, John Canzano joins us every single Tuesday. We'll get to him in just a minute. He's waiting by. Danny Kelly from The Ringer, all things football. We'll do On This Day. And, of course, Hey, What the Puck. We start off with headlines as we do every single day. First and foremost, happy Veterans Day to one and all. I know back in the radio days, we had lots of veterans listening down in Fort Lewis. And I'm sure many of you, some of you, hopefully a few, have carried over to this new venture. So, again, happy Veterans Day. My father was a veteran. So, thank you to all. You allow us to do what we get to do and to voice our opinions on anything, and we could not do it without you. Other headlines here in this world of sports. Oluwatimi is going to be your new starting center for the Seattle Seahawks. If you missed that, Jalen Sundell, it was revealed yesterday by Mike McDonald. He's going to miss several weeks. Could land on the IR with a knee injury that he suffered this past weekend there in their victory there over the Arizona Cardinals. Jaron Reed underwent surgery, a second surgery to repair a wrist and thumb injury that he suffered against Houston. He is on the IR, but obviously they expect him to come back. Mike McDonald also said yesterday, in addition, that he does not have an update on the three injured players that missed last week's game. Ernest Jones with his knee, Josh Jobe concussion, and Torrey Horton with his shin and groin injuries. Also, we've been covering this story. It's one of the best stories. It's the best stories because it's a group of women that have fought through tragedy, and obviously they would love to have their teammate back. The UW women's soccer team, who won the Big Ten Conference tournament, was selected to play in the NCAA tournament. They revealed who they're going to play. Yesterday, they will play Montana in the first round, 4 seed, home game, 7 o'clock this Friday. And also, last thing before we get to Canzano, Manager of the Year will be announced today, 4 o'clock, MLB Network. Dan Wilson, John Schneider, Stephen Vogt are your contenders. Schneider considered to be the favorite, minus 250, heavy favorite, by the way. Wilson anywhere from plus 350 to 500. All right, that's it. Let's get to John Canzano. Let's talk football. Let's talk college football. He wrote a great column at johncanzano.com, and the gist of it is Oregon is right and everybody else is wrong. They're the only school that's done it right with this new, not expansion, but the conference realignment. So we're going to get John's thoughts on that one. We're going to talk about Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch did something yesterday that the Puckett crisis firm would have advised him not to do, and he went down the road of doing it, and it's going to look bad. He should have done something. He should have called me. I would have advised him what to do. John Canzano with us every single Tuesday, all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. That's right. Here he is, John Canzano, Bald-Faced Truth Radio, showdown in Portland, Oregon. But, man, he's got an award-winning website, johncanzano.com. If you're not spending the money to invest in johncanzano.com, you're doing it wrong. The guy covers it all: college sports, professional sports, columns, feel-good stories, heartfelt stories, all of it. He tugs at the heartstrings there at johncanzano.com, and he educates you as well. His weekly appearance brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Cougar owned and operated, 6 great locations across the state: Washington, Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. Hello, how are you on this fine Tuesday?
I'm well. Good to see you working today. I love that you gave a shout out to the veterans, and how about their families as well? And you know this, there's some sacrifice that goes on with the families of people who serve and have served in this country. So shout out to them as well. Yeah, absolutely. We don't spend probably enough time thanking them, and we should thank them more often.
Well, you've stirred the pot with this column. People are just like, oh God, I see it on people are taking shots at you on social media, the comments, all of it. You wrote, it's great. I loved it. It was a great article. It was a great kind of story about, where are these schools at right now? The schools that left, that went to the Big 12, went to the Big 10. And the premise of your story up there at johncanzano.com, which I encourage everyone to go read, is, listen, Oregon's done it right, and really nobody else has. There's some layers to it, though, but let's just start with, Oregon obviously has the financial backing of Phil Knight. So there's an inherent advantage that they have, but there's got to be something else more than just they have more money, and that's why they're doing it right.
Well, they have the vision of Nike. They have the branding. They have they had momentum that started probably around 1998, 99 that was really about preparing for whatever came next in college athletics. If you really think about the University of Oregon, small media market in Eugene, has the same media market as Oregon State in Corvallis, more or less. And would be in the same soup that Oregon State is in if it weren't for Nike and Phil Knight. And so those are the great equalizers, the great proponents, and they propel Oregon to greater things. We all know that. It's not a mystery. But if you look at the 10 schools that left the Pac-12, I made the argument that it's only working for Oregon. And not necessarily that Oregon's doing it right, but it's only working for Oregon. If you look at what has happened, Oregon goes 13-0 and is the number 1 seed in the playoff last year. They're likely heading to the playoff again this year. The Big Ten exposure on Fox has been good for the Ducks. They are competing, traveling across multiple time zones and finding ways to win games, probably because they have better players than the teams they're playing, but they're figuring it out. Washington is a great example of a school that this probably isn't working right now for Washington. It may never work for Washington. The Huskies are getting a half distribution. They don't have Phil Knight to subsidize them. They're 0-7 against the spread when traveling across and playing games in the Central and Eastern time zone against Big 10 opponents. USC is not USC in the Big 10. It's not an upper echelon program even this season with 2 losses. Oregon's going to beat them in a couple weeks. They're going to get knocked out of the playoff. They're not making it. They're 0-6 against the spread in the Central and Eastern time zone playing Big 10 games. Utah hasn't worked so far. Looked like it might, but hasn't. Arizona hasn't worked. Colorado, you could argue it was Coach Prime's arrival more so than moving to the Big 12. Arizona State got to the playoff, but I would argue that Arizona State probably would have made the playoff anyway with Cam Scatterbo had they stayed in the Pac-12. The finances of this for the Big 12 schools, it's a push. They moved. They got $30 million, $31 million in media rights money. I think they could have got that or better in the Pac-12 had it stayed together. Again, we're talking about a lot of what ifs here, but it looks to me like early glimpse, small sample size, that this implosion of the Pac-12 is going to be really good for Oregon, really good for the SEC and the Big 10, which now can run away with it all because they don't have 3 other power conferences to deal with when it comes to negotiating and things to do with the playoff and postseason. And they got the most of the media money. It's a big squeeze that's going on, big consolidation that's going on. Arizona State fans are mad at me because they think I'm saying, oh, this didn't work for Arizona State. Well, they got to the playoff. I happen to think they probably, in a 12-team playoff with Cam Scatterbo, they're probably second last year in the Pac-12. They probably get there anyway. But Puck, the biggest takeaway is like, okay, if Oregon doesn't have Phil Knight, it didn't work for anybody. Like it probably wasn't going to work for anybody anyway. So I do think the TV networks, SEC and Big 10 are big winners, but Oregon's a winner. But Washington, what is Washington playing for right now? I look at they're Iowa, they're Minnesota. It's sad to me because Washington was a perennial contender in the Pac-12 and had risen in the last few years to be, first or second in that conference. They're not playing for that position in the Big 10 anymore.
Yeah, I think if you grow up on the West Coast and maybe if you're from the South or the Midwest and you don't have the perspective on what Washington is. Now, listen, this pains me to say as a Washington State grad, all right? So, listen, you sons of bitches. When you complain, I don't say anything nice about you. I do. But when you grow up on the West Coast, I mean, at least for me, I'm 49, and, it was always – USC was always the barometer of West Coast football. But there was just this time, though, with it where it was not good. Yeah. I mean, they were, I think we think of USC football, at least for when I was growing up, it was always Pete Carroll. Well, it wasn't always Pete Carroll. I mean, there were some bad years there for USC. Certainly, it was the potential of it to always be what it has was always there. UCLA has always been a weird one to me because you look at the uniforms in Westwood and Troy Aikman but really it was Terry Donahue, and then it was just kind of that's it. And then at least for my lifetime. But Washington, I think when you ask really, I think knowledgeable, hardcore college football fans, and they would say, yeah, I know those LA schools get all the attention, but it's not one right up there. I mean, they were the first one to really push back and compete against those LA schools. And it was not just recent success that they've had, but Don James, and before that, Don James with Jim Owens. I mean, it's a long history of it. So I think to your point is well taken. I think the problem for them was they were recognizable out here. They were one of the anchors of the conference. They're not an anchor of that conference. No, they're not. And they never will be. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. They're never going to be. It's never going to be their conference. Yeah. Because it can't be. They're on the West Coast.
I think it all starts with the LA schools. Because if they don't leave the Pac-12, Bob Thompson, the former Fox Sports Network's president, he was talking to me about what that media rights deal would have been, had it included all the original schools. You could have made the argument that USC and UCLA could have negotiated a lopsided share. They could have got 50, 55 million each. They would have been had an extreme advantage they don't have in the Big 10. They would have regained that foothold and that advantage with the LA teams having a bigger distribution. Washington and Oregon were right behind them in the hierarchy, and Utah maybe right in that next group. And they could have negotiated a little more money. And I think what would have happened, because we saw this sort of happen in the ACC and other places, I think you would have had a hierarchy within the conference that was performance-based. I think Washington and Oregon and USC and UCLA would have had advantages financially, Utah maybe as well. It's interesting when Arizona State left to go to the Big 12, the comment that one official at Arizona State made to me was not about USC or Oregon. They said, we're not going to have to play Washington anymore. We're not going to have to get above Washington. That was the school that Arizona State was thinking like, gosh, we just can't beat the Huskies, And so I don't think anybody at the top of the Big Ten is going, we've got to get in front of Washington. They're not worried about Washington. They're worried about Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, then maybe Penn State. Washington's in the second tier, and they're going to play in that second tier in that conference, I think, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I think you look back whenever this, 5 years, 10 years from now and wonder, was it the right choice for any of these schools? I don't know. I mean, it definitely seems to me to where, and I agree with you, I think with what Arizona State had last year, if they were still in the Pac-12, they're probably in the playoff anyways.
Sure.
I would say for me, it looks like the schools that did go to the Big 12, it seems like it's working out better for them than it is the schools that went to the Big 10. At least they haven't, except for Colorado. Like Colorado's been the one that's dropped off, but Utah, what are they, 7-2 in their rank? Are they 13th? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, they have 3 hard games coming up.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna.
I guess they haven't dropped off though. Yeah. They're in contention. Like they're Utah's there, Arizona State's there, Arizona's there. It just seems like they've transitioned better. And honestly, geographically, that can kind of be a little bit better of a fit where they're in, to a degree. But these other schools that have gone to the Big Ten, I mean, you're right. Oregon's been the only one that's shown up that they can actually play against these teams.
But we can't compare where the Big 12 schools are now to, where they would be if they were Washington State and Oregon State. We have to compare them to where they were when the Pac-12 was a viable conference. And I think you have to account for the fact that the Arizona schools in Utah now are playing all their other sports are playing in the Big 12. Their fans are complaining about, they're not as excited about playing Kansas and Texas Tech and Kansas State and Oklahoma State as they were about playing UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. Sure. I think the money is a wash, not unlike Stanford and Cal that have terrible travel, awful travel, and also, by the way, can't compete in the ACC, and also, by the way, are getting a minimal fractional distribution. The Big 12 schools, the Pac-12 schools that went to the Big 12, they're at least getting about the same money that they got in the Pac-12. So from that standpoint, yeah, but are they better off, Puck? Like, I can't say that Colorado is better off. Maybe the sample size is too small. I can't say that Arizona is better off. I'm going to have a hard time finding somebody on that Arizona baseball team that is saying, yeah, we're better off not playing UCLA and Oregon State and getting to compete at the highest levels. I think it'd be really easy. The same logic, like somebody today said to me, Arizona State made the playoff. Like, you can't say that it didn't work for them. And I'm like, well, Oregon State baseball got to Omaha. Like, are we saying the implosion of the Pac-12 is working for Oregon State? No. You have to look at the bigger picture here. Stanford is a great example too. Stanford is 0-11 in road games. They're traveling across the country. They played a game at North Carolina. They kicked off earlier in the day, on Saturday. They got home around 1 a.m. They have had 3 games this season, Puck. They kicked off 7 p.m. or later Eastern time. The Stanford kids are getting back to campus at 3:30 in the morning on Sunday morning, and they're getting their butts kicked in these games. And so, yeah, Cal had a nice win. Cal beat Louisville. Mm-hmm. It's still not working for Cal. I think we have to look at the bigger picture, and that's not to ignore that the 10 departing schools gave up $255 million to go sign up for this. I think at the end, if we're really looking at it on paper, it's been a tremendous loss for 9 of those 10 schools. Oregon's the only one that can sit there and go, hey, this has been okay for us.
Do you ever, you look into the Canzano crystal ball? Do you ever see it, envision it resetting?
I think.
Do you ever see it all come back?
I think that you're going to get, like David Shaw said to me when it all went down, he said, I think geography is a powerful force. I'm still thinking about that comment. I think that the regionality of college athletics has to eventually be put back together. I don't think college football is going to be part of that. I think it happens when it fractures and it moves away, or maybe they just go, hey, look, what's the point of even having conferences? Let's just have divisions. I think that's on the horizon, but there's this mass consolidation that's going on in the marketplace first that happens between now and 2032 or so. But I think you will see like the volleyball team at Arizona playing against UCLA. That's where they should be playing. Like, this is a regional thing. And I think, it's funny because I talked to a lot of the coaches at these schools that departed, and publicly they're saying, oh, this is great. Our new conference is wonderful. Privately, they're going, this sucks. This isn't how it should be. And I think we need to be real about that conversation that, like, all right, we all know football dragged everything else along. And if it was just football, fine. If it was just the loss of tradition, fine. But, what UCLA and USC started wasn't good for everybody else. I think Oregon and Washington, I think in their heart of hearts, I think they would have liked to stay in the Pac-12 with the Pac-12, including the LA schools. I don't think Oregon and Washington would have done what UCLA and USC did.
Speaking of UCLA, how likely is it, if people don't know the news, they are in negotiations trying to leave the Rose Bowl and go play at SoFi for a university that has made just a lot of just boneheaded decisions, including being the part of this, the exile from this conference, killing this conference, all of that, the whole Deshaun Foster and just everything that has gone on at UCLA. Now the final just, planting the flag in of just being an idiots of college athletics is they want to leave the Rose Bowl. I know it's got some hurdles, but how realistic is it that they leave and go play at SoFi?
Well, there'll be a cost to it. They've got a lease that runs through 2044. And so they're going to end up on the hook for part of that. But the funny thing to me is, like, it's absurd to think that, UCLA's problem is the venue. I get it. It's not on campus. It's a bit of a drive. There's a disconnect there. But the problem is the football program. And when the football program's good, people will show up to the Rose Bowl to see it play. We all know there are teams that don't have ideal situations when it comes to a venue. But if the football product is there, people are going to show up and watch it. There's nobody going, I want to go to the Rose Bowl just because, I'm here to see the stadium. No, it's the secondary byproduct there of that. I just find it really disappointing, especially Martin Jarmon, the athletic director at UCLA. He was a key figure in UCLA deciding that it wanted to leave for the Big Ten. His background is he was at Ohio State back in the day. I think he missed the Big Ten, wanted to get back into that conference. And I think he was dreaming about being the athletic director one day at Ohio State. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now because, they're calling for his head at UCLA. But Jarmon does not seem to understand the tradition that is involved in West Coast athletics. He not only has his school gone to the Midwest trying to solve its financial problems, he's now saying, let's go to SoFi Stadium. By the way, you see a bowl game at SoFi Stadium? If the product's not there, the seats are empty. Yeah. I hardly think this is going to solve UCLA's problem to go play in a different stadium. This is like changing the window display at a store instead of fixing the problem inside the store. So look, it's window dressing. It's disappointing. The Rose Bowl will survive. The city of Pasadena is suing now UCLA. The Rose Bowl will continue to be there, but UCLA should be playing their games there. Focus on the product.
Hey, is there any talk, when they form this new, take some tea.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you are playing hurt, and I appreciate it.
All right. I'm good.
Have you gone bourbon yet?
No.
When does that
You should have heard me Friday. It was worse.
You go bourbon before the show, or?
No. You want me asleep? You want me to take a nap during the show?
Just one little. I mean, I had the same thing a couple of weeks ago, and at 8:30 in the morning, a little bourbon in the tea. Why doesn't the Pac-12, right? There's been this talk where's the new championship game going to be, right? Vegas. Well, the Big 12's kind of planted their flag in Vegas. Why not just go there? Why not go to the Rose Bowl?
I'm not opposed to it.
Wouldn't that just make sense for all the changes in college football? And we just have taken a blowtorch, John, to tradition. Just a blowtorch to all of it. Why doesn't the Pac-12 and not Ann McCoy? Why am I blanking on the commissioner's name?
Teresa Gold.
Why doesn't she just get them together and go, we're going to play it there? We're going to be the one conference that just believes in tradition. We're going to play at the Rose Bowl. No, they're not going to get 100,000 people there. I get it. And people would argue it should be on the home site. I understand it, travel logistics. Why not just try it out for a couple of years? I think people would show up.
I like that you're thinking in those terms, because I do think tradition matters, and I think that it might be well received. There is a concern if Texas State and Colorado State are playing in that game. Is it like 20,000 people showing up in a 100,000 seat venue?
Fair point.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
I also think, there's some logic in going to Vegas because you want to position yourself as the number 5 conference.
Yeah.
Well, go act like one of those conferences, right? Big 12, Big 10, all trying to put a flag in Vegas. It also would be a throwback to what you once were. You held your game there before. You're still holding it there. You're still a power conference. I think there's a brand issue with going to your respective conferences. I understand why they would want to do it. It's been wildly successful. Boise State can tell you that, not only have they controlled that game by getting the home field advantage, that it's worked for them and their fans to have the championship game on their campus. But if attendance is the issue and you really are worried about the eyeballs and the optics of this, you go with home team hosting the game because you're gonna sell that game out.
Sure.
If you want to align yourselves with the other conferences, you go to Vegas. But you're right. There's a play here about tradition. The thing is, you better get busy selling those tickets to locals, and you better get busy, finding an angle, because you're going to have to bring in an additional 15 or 20,000 local fans. Because if it is Texas State playing Washington State, you're gonna have the risk there that it looks bad and the country laughs at you.
Yeah, no, I get it. And they're all valid points, because you don't want it when they used to do it at Santa Clara.
No,
and there just was simply no one there.
No.
Jedd Fisch needed to call the Puckett crisis firm yesterday, and he came and did a press conference as he always does, and I think he was asked specifically. I think it was hinted at a couple of weeks ago, and then I think asked specifically about a report that ended up being, I think, associated with Newsweek, and I didn't even know Newsweek was still around, but I think Newsweek just was an aggregate of the story or whatever, saying that he is fine. He's trying to get out of Washington, and he wants out. He's looking for every exit to get out. His family, it's documented, and he acknowledged it yesterday. I think it's the first time he did acknowledge it. His family doesn't live here anymore. They moved back to Tucson. His daughter wanted to finish high school there. Apparently the wife doesn't like it here. I don't know why anyone wouldn't like 41 degrees and raining, but it's not for everyone. But he says he loves Washington. Nothing to see here. Now, God, I love the irony of this. I love the fact that it happened. He says this, and he's getting all this praise for how forceful he was for his love and commitment to Washington. The press conference after they had their most disappointing loss of the season. Now he's all in. Now he's all into Washington. But I think there's a way to answer this question without answering it. And when you answer it the way he did, and first of all, he never gave a definitive answer. He's staying at Washington. He just said, "Oh, I love it here. We got great freshmen. Damon Williams can have a great couple of years." He never said, "I'm committed here forever." And no coach would ever say that. And then when you say stuff like this, they use it against you later. But everybody knows he's not committed to their long term. Most coaches aren't committed anywhere long term, but especially not Jedd Fisch. But I got to think that for his agent and for Jedd Fisch, a little luster's got to be off right now. If I'm Florida, why would I want to hire Jedd Fisch?
But more important, I was going to say to you, more important than him saying, "I love Washington and I'm going to be here," is the fact that he lost to Wisconsin. The conversation got changed a little bit, didn't it? Like that was he switched the pitch there. I think there are just so many for him to come out and address it means to me that he's feeling it and he's hearing it internally somewhere where it counts, either with players or with people in his close inner circle, that they're saying, hey, we're hearing that you're not here forever. He's got to say that he's there until he's not there. They all have to. They have. I think you said it. Their lips are moving. They're lying.
They're all professional liars.
Yeah, professional liars. Like he's got to say that until otherwise. Willie Taggart's got to say, I'm excited about the Vegas Bowl right up until he's in Tallahassee. Mario Cristobal's got to say, I'm just going to see my sick mother while he's flying out to Miami. Dan Lanning's got to say, I'm forever at Oregon until the Kansas City Chiefs call him, right? Yeah. Like 5 years from now.
I guess why I would say this about Jedd Fisch. I've just seen a lot of people and so, oh man, coming out in support of what he said. Of course he was going to say that. Like, are you guys? Sometimes I wonder if some college football fans are just dunces. No, like some fans. I mean, it's like,
he's saying what they want to hear.
Come out and say that. I know. I mean, of course he's going to say that. What did you want him to say? No, I'm not committed here. I would have advised him to answer it a little bit differently. I love I'm committed. We're preparing for Purdue. I'm not going to address all this other stuff. It's not worth my time. But whatever. But these people are like, oh, God, he's committed. He's here forever. He's not going to be there forever. No coach is ever there anywhere forever.
Just passing through.
Of course they are.
General managers, coaches, they're just players. They're passing through. The fans are going to be there. But from a fan perspective, when you have been told by Kalen DeBoer, hey, this isn't good enough, and Ryan Grubb, this isn't good enough.
Sure.
And, it rocks sort of the core of what you're believing in as a fan. And so when you hear a coach who's in that seat going, this is my dream job, or I'm here or I'm not going anywhere, or look at the young players, it's what you want to hear, because the alternative here is that Washington's looking for another coach. But I think it's hard to get past the family thing. Like Troy Dannon's family didn't like it there. Jedd Fisch's family doesn't like it there. I think it's really difficult to get past that. Sure. Think about how fractured your life would be with your daughter and your wife, and, you're not, all of your things aren't in one place. I think that's hard to get past. I think what Fisch is saying is that he doesn't have an offer right now that he likes. And, he's not being offered a job. And I think some of these schools are going to be really slow to make hires. I was speaking this morning to a class at Penn State, and they were asking me, who's Penn State going to hire? And I go, I think they're going to wait a little bit and see who was out there. They're probably going to go try to get somebody on that Ohio State staff, so, they can weaken the opposition. But I think, Jedd Fisch is going to be a candidate places. The question is, does he get an offer that is a place that his family loves? And, look, I think a lot of people would have been successful at Washington. I think the big loser is probably Jonathan Smith. I think he would have probably done it better there. I know the Michigan State fans are not happy with him, but Smith's a good coach, and you get him resources and a good job. I think he would thrive.
And maybe it ends up there. You never know. Maybe it does. I agree with you. I think Fisch is a good coach. I think he's a little overrated in terms of just how he is as an actual coach. But yeah, Washington's job is a lot of turnkey to it. And I agree with you. Despite what Jonathan Smith has done there at Michigan State, I think he would have had way more success at Washington.
He took a bad job. It's a bad job in the Big Ten. Michigan State's not a good job, and Washington's a better job. UCLA might even be a better job just because there's a lifestyle and a West Coast feel to that, for the right guy.
I think he takes it for that, though. Yeah. And to me, if he were to take the UCLA job, that's about lifestyle. That's about his family.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what's a better football program, what's the better resources, because Washington would trump that everywhere. It would just be because it would make my wife happy. And again, people do things all the time to make their family happy.
I'm okay with that.
I guess I wouldn't begrudge him at all.
Yeah. I also look at UCLA and I go, they're in kind of a different position where I think they're really going to invest in football. They're going to try to matter. I also think the expectations are so low there that, if you win 8 games, they're going to throw a parade and you're going to So I think there's a feel to that UCLA job right now that is interesting, that might appeal to him. Plus, you got to look at this. Look, Dennis Erickson came to Oregon State and he got him to a Fiesta Bowl. I wrote a column after Erickson, had that success at Oregon State, saying it's time for Dennis to go. Not meaning he needs to be fired, but look at his resume. It's about time. This is what Dennis does.
Yeah,
and
right.
Erickson called me down to Corvallis and he said, I want to see you face to face. He was pissed. I'm killing him with recruiting, saying that he's going to leave. Calls me into his office. He's got my column printed out. It's on his desktop. He's got it highlighted.
Love it.
And he says, what did I do? Did I steal a girlfriend from you or something? Like, what did I do? And I said, Dennis, look at your resume. Like, you anytime you win, you go. This is what you do. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Just give me a fair shake, all that. And he says, here's my card. And he wrote his cell number on it. He said, call me if you ever need anything, whatever. 2 days later, Puck, he took the Niners job. It's like 2 days.
Oh, God,
2 days later,
I love it.
He's in the NFL.
There just is there's no job. And I think college football fans, some of them who think they're in this elite status think that this job is never a stepping stone.
Yeah.
They're all stepping stones.
Yes.
Every one of them. No, there's no job where you're like, that's it. I've reached it. There's always a job better for these guys. Always. Always, always, always.
Yeah. Even Mike Riley, right? Mike Riley left Oregon State for the NFL, said it was a big mistake, came back to Oregon State. He said he and his wife talked about it and said, this is our forever place. We will retire here. About 8 years later, he's like, I need to go to Nebraska. It's insane to me that, we're dealing with human nature. You just look at the resumes. Look at Jedd's resume. Jedd's going at some point. It's just a matter of what the job is. It has to be the right job. He'll leave. Yeah,
exactly. All right. Sorry, we rest up, rest the voice. Yeah. You got a lot more going on today. JohnCanzano.com. What's the late? What are you working on? What's in the fire right now?
Well, look, I got a human interest story, a heartwarming story coming down the pipeline. Two of them really I'm working on. I think we need good stories like that. We need good stories. I'm also, my tour of the New World Pac-12. I've been to Boise. I've been to Gonzaga. I'm heading off to San Diego to see what's up at San Diego State. So I'll be touring San Diego and spending a day with J.D. Wicker, the athletic director there.
Great timing,
trying to figure out
November. Good timing.
Yeah, that was strategic. But I think if you are a college football fan, or I always say to people, get a free subscription, get a paid subscription, whatever works for you is good for me. But I think I got a lot to say this week. This is going to be a big week in college football, man. I just love that we're in the meat of stuff right now.
Okay, great stuff. JohnCanzano.com every week, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Thanks, John. We'll see you next week. Here he is, John Canzano, JohnCanzano.com. Weekly appearance again, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. And, of course, you miss any of John's appearance, it will be a podcast later up on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all of the favorite podcast platforms. All right, we switch gears over to the National Football League, and we talk NFL all the time here on Puck Sports and the Daily Puck Drop, all brought to you by the NFL's #1 brewery. That would be Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
And joining us to talk the NFL, we like to call it the National Football League. Ladies and gentlemen, from parts unknown, it's Danny Kelly, Danny B. Kelly, the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show, Ringer everything. All things Ringer, all things Danny Kelly. Follow him on social media, Danny B. Kelly, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Hello, how are you, Danny Kelly?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The only thing that would have made last week's game, the choke out, the ass whipping of the Arizona Cardinals even better is if they were in the original uniforms. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I kept thinking.
The old school.
Can we go back to the Royal Blues and you just see the ass kicking in the Royal Blues against Arizona? It was also a fun weekend because it was the second straight week that at about the third quarter, this guy, he nodded off. Got in a good 20-minute, 25-minute cat nap.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I literally texted my podcast co-hosts like probably early second quarter. I'm like, man, this is great. I think I might take a nap. All three of the games that were going on were blowouts at the time.
Right.
I think a couple of them ended up being a little bit interesting, but yeah, the Seahawks, man, I can't remember this type of just ass kicking since I want to say the 2012, 2013 seasons. There was a stretch there in 2012 where they just walloped a couple teams. There was like
Arizona was one of them. It was 58-0.
Arizona, Buffalo. They went and like dominated
in Toronto,
Buffalo.
right?
Yeah. And I think my point for that is, and not to get people too excited, but it's pretty rare to have teams to be able to blow teams out like the way that the Seahawks have been doing it the last couple of weeks. Obviously, blowouts happen here and there, but to dominate two teams 28-0 in two straight games in the first half.
It felt like
pretty rare.
I can't remember who said this to me. Maybe it was Jim or I don't know who it was, but it was like Ohio State facing like an FCS team.
Like App State.
Yeah. And just to bludgeon them. And you're like, what the hell, man? I mean, I know they got $1 million to come to Columbus, but was it worth it?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, Arizona, what did the Seahawks pay him to come up there for that? I don't know if it was worth it. And it was such a weird day to have two defensive scores like that.
Two almost exactly the same.
No, not kind of exactly the same. I mean,
bizarre.
And then the ball to perfectly bounce both times into the hands of DeMarcus Lawrence, and he runs into the end zone. You're like, how does that happen?
I think I saw this stat. Only the second player in basically NFL history in the Super Bowl era to score two fumble touchdowns in the same game. So that's rare also. Basically, what we're doing, what the Seahawks are doing right now, people should probably enjoy it because, man, this is some really, really, really exciting football. The things that they're doing right now are pretty rare. Jackson Smith-Njigba, what he's doing is extremely rare. I mean, he's on an all-time today for the Ringer.
He's a heater. He's an absolute heater, this guy.
He's legitimately outpacing like Calvin Johnson, peak Calvin Johnson era, like receiving. So yeah.
And I know of a guy that hosts a podcast that said in the beginning of the year, I don't know if he's the number one wide receiver.
What a freak. What an idiot.
Oh, listen to that guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, do you think even the Seahawks knew that he would do this? Because I remember, when he was the first couple of years, obviously maybe during this offseason, they had an inkling that he would be the superstar player that he is now. But like when he was a rookie, all they would let him do was screen passes last year.
Right.
All that they let him do was play in 3 receiver sets. And he almost primarily was, he was, very much primarily just in the slot. It was like 70-80% of slot stuff. And now all of a sudden he's like the best receiver in the NFL. It's insane. I honestly these types of things don't happen very often. Where you see, basically this is what I'm writing today. It's like you see this breakout from, like, typically a breakout would be like, oh, this guy all of a sudden came out of nowhere, sort of under the radar guy, and he had 1,000 yards receiving or whatever. It's like, awesome. That's exactly what Jackson Smith-Njigba did last year. Now he's doing this thing where he's going from a good player, respected player, to one of the best players in the NFL. He's gone from good to elite. And so I think that's really exciting. And he has like shown no signs of slowing down. It doesn't feel fluky, which is kind of crazy. I mean, last week on Sunday, I should say, I think they threw 2 passes in the second half. And he still finished with like 83 yards and a touchdown. He got all that in the first quarter, and then they didn't really need him to do anything the rest of the game. So he's pacing for an all-time receiving season. If you look at his yards, my buddy Scott Barrett posted this the other day. Basically, since 1960, since the Vietnam War, he has the highest percentage of teams receiving yards of any player. So yards per team pass attempt. Basically, that just tells you he is their offense. He's their passing offense, more than any other player, basically in NFL history.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he gave the Seahawks True Serum and McDonald and Kubiak and Schneider, I think they'd say, well, we think he's going to take a step.
Yeah,
he'll get more
100%.
opportunities without DK and Lockett, but I don't think this.
I mean, and I didn't know what to make of Sam Darnold either. In my defense, like prior to the year, I was like, there's a chance this is a really good fit, but we don't know a ton about Clint Kubiak. We don't know if Sam Darnold is going to be the guy that, helped the Vikings win 14 games last year, or he's going to be the guy that kind of completely fell apart in the playoffs. I think that was a risky move. And to the Seahawks credit, like it's absolutely paid off to bring Clint Kubiak in, bring Sam Darnold in. It's a perfect scheme fit. It makes so much sense. And then JSN has just absolutely taken his game to a whole new level. He's playing on the outside. He's winning on the outside. He's winning on, yards after the catch. He's winning at the catch point in terms of like contested catches. He's doing it all. He is a number one receiver. And I don't know if even the Seahawks like knew he could make this big of a jump. So yeah, it's been really, really fun to see that.
Yeah. And then this last week, I mean, there's not so much we're going to break down from this game last week. I mean, they just bludgeoned them from the get-go, and now all eyes are going to be, towards this matchup Sunday against the Rams, but they finally got the running game going. That's something that we've been waiting for.
Huge.
And what I find it more impressive, what they did was that everybody knew they wanted to run the ball in the second half. And then they did
dropbacks. I think I saw 2 dropbacks in the second half.
Yeah. Because he only attempted 12 passes, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was 10 of 12, I think. Yeah. I mean, so they ran the ball.
Yeah, he was 10 of 12. 12 passes and 44 points. I guess that's what happens when you score 2 defenses.
They know they were going to run the ball, and they still did it. Yeah. Like that one drive, the third quarter that resulted in just the field goal. But I mean, how many times this was like youth football that I coach? I mean, you hand it off to the same kid 10 plays in a row.
I mean, it looks like sorry, it didn't mean to interrupt you there. It looks like a college line almost. They had 46 rush attempts for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Great.
So that's
awesome. You've been waiting for that. And then it was so out of hand. And I know what McDonald was doing. And I love this about McDonald. And Dugar talked about this on yesterday's show. Rewarding guys that are showing up. And in what McDonald is doing is that he's using everybody. It's everybody's got a role on the team. And that it's not just, he doesn't call it a practice squad. I can't remember what he calls it. The ready squad or something. There's some name for it. Anyways, but that everybody, that you show a work ethic, if you do things right in practice, you're going to get an opportunity. And then he did that for George Holani. We haven't seen George Holani carry the ball. All of a sudden they get in the red zone, and then you're like, the hell's that? Why is George Holani getting the ball?
When
if I'm Ken Walker's agent, I'm like, hey, John, excuse me.
Yeah,
he's a free. Can we give him the ball? Why are we giving it to George Holani? But he said this yesterday that here's a guy that's been doing it right in practice, working hard. And, if we're going to ask that of you in practice, we're going to reward that to you in a game. This is very high school like, by the way.
Oh, I was thinking that
this is not professional. They don't do this in professional sports.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I remember playing for as a sophomore, I was on the JV team in basketball, and I remember distinctly like I had like a really good day of practice, and the coach like pulled everyone aside, stopped the drill, and was like, if you practice like this, you're going to be going up to the varsity or whatever. So I think this is like basically the same deal. It's like if you practice hard and if you're on it every day, like we're going to give you opportunities to get on the field. Guys get hurt all the time. We need you to like be ready to go. And it's very easy, I imagine, like when you're behind an entrenched player to kind of just mail it in at practice. You know what I mean? Like go through the motions day in and day out. So I think this is like a good example of coaches, kind of like motivating their players. And he said it in the post-game presser. He was like, some guys don't really do that. Some guys don't really practice hard like they could get their opportunity. And I don't understand that. He's like, we want guys that are going to practice like they're going to be playing. Yeah. And so I love McDonald, man. He is like, I think he's on it in terms of the details. Obviously, like his defense is revolutionary. Maybe revolutionary is too strong, but it's like very, very interesting and up and coming defense. And then I just think from a overall manage the team, manage the roster, have the respect of the players. Like I think he's nailing it. So I'm just like, obviously like I think we had a little bit of cynicism coming into the year, how good they would be, but they've blown me away in terms of, on all 3 sides of the ball, they're good.
Okay, what everybody's wondering, Danny Kelly, is after that practice when you were elevated to varsity, how did you do?
I mean, I was a 2-year starter. I wasn't like
There you go, Danny.
I wasn't like a superstar or anything.
There we go.
We went my senior year, Puckett, you might remember this. We went to state. Did you follow basketball back in the day? Like because I was this was
what
in
high school?
2001, Squalicum High School.
Okay.
We went there, and this is hilarious. Me talking about high school basketball.
I love it. This is great. We're sitting around the cafe.
Yeah.
You know, when we're old.
The older I get, the better I was.
Yeah. Damn right. Squalicum High School, 2001 state championship.
Yeah. Well, we went to the state tournament. We didn't win the state championship. We went there. I think we were like, I don't remember how the seeding works, but we were the lowest seed. I think maybe it was like an 8 seed. And we played the number 1 seed in the opening round. And I can't remember. It was at Tacoma High School, and we beat them. So that was really exciting.
What is it? 3A?
3A at the time, yeah.
Ooh, maybe Curtis?
No, shoot. I wish I could remember. I'll look it up and I'll tell you next time.
Yeah, I gotta know. I want a box score.
But yeah, we were a little plucky little Bellingham.
Yeah, you were. Oh, I bet you. Bunch of undersized white guys that could shoot, Danny.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You probably ran a good flex offense, maybe a 5-out motion.
We were doing a lot of pressing, like three-quarter court pressing. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, that kind of shit.
Okay.
By the way, and this is another, as long as we're on these memories, people might remember this. As we were driving down to the Tacoma Dome to go to this state tournament is when that big earthquake hit.
Oh, the Nisqually quake.
Yeah. And I remember looking out, we were driving, and it like felt like the car started like shaking. It was like one of those things, like it felt like someone was like yanking on the steering wheel. I look out, and as you're going through Fife, there's like a big ass like billboard. And that billboard was just woo, 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 like back and forth
out
violently. I was like, holy shit, what is going on? And we were listening to the state tournament radio broadcast, and they were like, oh god, everything, and like people like they had to like stop the game and like everything. So anyways, people remember where they were when that happened, I bet.
Well, I have stumbled upon a 2001 story from the Seattle Times.
Oh,
now it doesn't give me the results of the game, but it's the 3A tournament team capsule.
Nice.
This was the preview, right, of the tournament. It goes from favorites to then the favorites are like so Mount Vernon.
Yeah, they won the title that year.
Then Mercer Island, Ed Heppel in his 34th year, Seattle Prep, Rainier Beach. Wow, shocker!
All the big names. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rainier Beach. That had Lodrick and Roderick, the twins.
I want to say, I think maybe was Nate Robinson. I think maybe a freshman on that team. He might have been the year after me.
He might have. I'm just looking at. Let's see, Seattle Prep. Who they have on there? Tavio Hobson. I think he played somewhere in college. Let's see. Then the contenders. Where was O'Day? I thought I saw O'Day in there. Did I not see O'Day? Hold on. I know. Hold on. We'll get back to football, people. Just entertain me for a second. The contenders were West Valley, Cheney, Clover Park, Chief Self.
Clover Park is who we beat, I believe.
You beat the Clover Park Warriors.
I think.
Okay. Well, they're Tacoma. Sure.
Sounds familiar.
Lakewood, South Tacoma. O'Day was in there. Phil Lumpkin was in his 10th year. Do you have anybody that was of note on their team? No. And then we get to the long shots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which included Mark Morris, the Squim Wolves.
We lost to Mark Morris, I think.
Yeah, you did. Well, it's a great basketball program, Mark Morris. And then there they are, the Squalicum Storm.
Hell yeah.
17-7, second place in the Northwest League.
Behind Mount Vernon, who won the state title.
Second year of Coach Mike McKee.
Yeah. Coach McKee. He was the man.
Led key players.
Man.
Jordan Beatty.
Yeah.
6-foot junior, averaged 21 points a game. Forward Richard Nevitt, a 6'2 junior. Center Parker Follis, a 6'3 junior.
Parker.
There you go. No, this would come to a shock for many people who probably follow Squalicum basketball. The third-year schools making their first trip to the state. No player is taller than 6'3. You don't say.
We were running gun, baby. We were shooting threes.
You were.
We were shooting threes.
Good for you, Danny. I'm trying to find I want a recap of the game.
I know. I'll try and find it. I have some old like Bellingham Herald like things.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want all of it. I want to read up the whole story.
This is what the people come here for, isn't it?
I know this is what the people come here for. You know, I've been thinking about this game as we'll go back to the Seahawks Rams. Obviously, it's one of the biggest games. Who are the Eagles playing? Eagles are playing the Lions.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. On Sunday night, I think.
Yeah. Lions at Eagles. Obviously, Seahawks versus Rams, which is huge.
Huge game.
Chiefs Broncos in the AFC West.
Chiefs Broncos
also. Yeah.
The Broncos better be wearing their throwbacks again. Because that
Orange ones?
game deserves it. Yeah.
They're so cool. Yeah.
Beautiful. I wonder how much this week Sam Darnold is thinking about the last time he played the Rams.
Remind me what happened. Oh, the playoffs.
Yeah. Sacked 9 times, Danny Kelly.
Jeez.
He was 25 of 40. Do you know how many times he's been sacked this year in 9 games? 10.
Wow.
10 times. I didn't even let you to guess. What a dick.
I was going to say 9.
Okay, 10 times he's been sacked. It's tied for the fewest amount this year.
Yeah.
We got to give some praise to this offensive line. It's been playing great this year.
Mm-hmm.
Been playing really, really good, especially in pass protection. But he was sacked 9 times in that game. He was 25 of 40. He threw like 240 yards at a touchdown to pick.
They got like instant interior pressure like on every play. I feel like
every play.
Yeah.
But most importantly for the narrative on Sam Darnold was what after the game?
He fell apart. He returned back into the old Sam Darnold.
Seeing ghosts, Sam Darnold.
Yep.
See, what you saw in the first 14 games of the year, that was a mirage.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real Sam Darnold. Sam
yeah.
Darnold's got a lot, I think, on his plate Sunday. And I think on a personal level, and he's never going to acknowledge it this week at all.
Right.
But on a personal level for Sam Darnold, he has got a chance to alter and change the narrative about Sam Darnold once again. And it starts on Sunday against these very Rams. Because the last time you saw him, when they left that field, it was the same old Sam Darnold, Danny Kelly.
Right. Seeing ghosts. You never should have said that. Do you think there's any way? I think the only way Sam Darnold like sort of elevates to the next level is if he wins a Super Bowl, because he's gonna run into the same sort of doubts. Like you're gonna fall apart when it really gets important. Good regular season quarterback. I mean, kind of like the stuff that you see from Lamar, not in a totally different way, but like
for sure,
you got to get over the hump. To kind
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen's another great example. Just exercise the demons and finally get that off your back and. I mean, obviously, it's very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl, so maybe it never happens. But yeah, I mean, coming into this game, I don't know why it matters. I guess it does matter, but like I'm like Stafford has a Super Bowl. I just trust Stafford more. I would love to see Darnold come in there and just look really poised, confident, and like play a clean game. But I'm a little bit worried things are going to get dicey.
Well, that's and again, I'm not. That's the talking point this week.
Yeah,
I've seen it all on all the the shows. Who do you trust more? Well, I'm saying
obviously, obviously
Stafford and it makes sense. I trust Stafford more than Darnold.
Right.
I think everybody does, but yeah, I think for him, of course, he's always going to be doubted until the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be doubted this week. If he gets by the Rams, he's going to be doubted. Can he do it in the playoffs? And then you're right, he gets to the NFC Championship game. Yeah, but can he win this? And then the Super Bowl.
Can he win the big one? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the Vikings won 14 games last year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think you see some glimpses of him that cause you for concern, right? They get 2 goal line stands and immediately it's a fumble and a pick. And you're like, uh-oh, there it is. Old Sammy Darnold coming back.
It's not, I guess it's not simultaneously like really annoying because I did text some people, Jesus Christ, Sam Darnold, like during the game. But at the same time, it's nice to have those things happen in a blowout because then you can kind of just, it doesn't really make a big difference. Obviously, you want to see him play a clean game against the Rams. The Rams defense is very good. And you're going to have to go punch for punch with the Rams offense. Obviously we didn't talk about the defense yet, but it's going to be very fascinating to see how the defense can contend with this Rams offense.
Sure.
Because Stafford, he has 20 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in his last 6 games. He's on pace to have 47 touchdown passes this year. I mean, that's like up there with like Mahomes and
he didn't do anything
Manning.
during training camp. Nothing.
He was in the silver, like the trailer in the parking lot, getting cloned or something. So he's like in the Airstream. Did you see these pictures? He's like in this silver Airstream in the parking lot at like the Rams facility getting treatment. I don't even know what he was doing. There was some people that thought he might just retire. So, you know, what he's doing is incredible. He's an awesome quarterback. I mean, we don't give him enough credit, I think, already for some of the like no look passes that he makes and things like that. He's incredible. And they have a really good receiving core. It'll be interesting to see if Devontae Adams plays. I know his back or side, his oblique was like hurting him. But yeah, this Rams team is experimenting with the 3 tight end looks, which is kind of a big storyline the last couple of weeks. They're playing more 3 tight end looks than any other team basically ever, or at least in the modern era. And yeah, so they're having a lot of success both running the football and passing out of these looks. So yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating game. I can't believe it didn't get flexed. I don't know if they're doing flexing yet, but
but you're not gonna.
The Eagles Lions is pretty damn good too. So yeah,
it's gonna be a great game. I mean, I just can't wait for it. It's kind of rare. I shouldn't say it's rare. I think we saw it. I was looking forward to watching Bills Chiefs. I always think you get more of this like this meeting in college football. I always think. And I don't know why that is. Like, number 1 Texas versus number 2 Alabama.
Right.
And it's like all week long, you can't wait to get to Saturday to watch that game. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the NFL because the NFL is obviously massively more popular than college football. And I get that. But like, because of the parity and all of that, I think maybe in the sport, it's very rare. I feel like as an NFL fan that you get one of these games that you're just like, once the game's over on Sunday, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for it. So
people had this circled like 2 weeks ago.
Very much a playoff game, and it is a playoff game.
Yeah,
I mean this is home field advantage. This is number 1 seed. This is a lot of it on the line on Sunday for Seattle, and I can't wait to see. We talked about Sam Darnold taking that next step. I think for Mike McDonald, and Dugar brought this up yesterday. That was a great point. He was hired for one reason. He was hired to beat Sean McVay, the Rams, and to beat Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. That's what he was hired for.
Yeah.
It's because he needed to counter their offense with his defense. And he gets a shot here on Sunday. So the chess match between Mike McDonald and, I like how he does it. They both do that, real close to the, they pull the play sheet up so no one can read their lips. First of all, no one can read their lips because the plays are like 3,000 paragraphs.
I know. There's logistically speaking, it would be impossible to be like reading his lips and then calling it in and then getting it transferred over to the linebacker or whoever's calling the defense.
It never would happen. ever.
Yeah.
And I want to know who the first coach was that started that. But it's going to be a great one-on-one matchup, the game within the game between McDonald and McVay.
Big time.
Yeah, can't wait to watch it.
Pumped up to see it.
Yeah, we never even got to Danny's Dimes. And if you don't have anything great, fine. I mean, I think we probably covered all of it. But if you have something we haven't covered, please share.
Let's see here. Well, I think that the Lions offense with Dan Campbell calling plays is an interesting one. Dan Campbell took over play calling for the Lions.
Yeah, well, look good.
And immediately they just looked like a freaking buzzsaw. Now the Commanders' defense has not been good, so there's that. But yeah, that was an interesting storyline. And then for this Monday night game, the only thing I kept thinking was, man, the tush push has seen its PR campaign of like staying a legal play in the NFL has had like one of the worst seasons I can ever imagine in terms of just like public perception. The public has turned against the tush push, wouldn't you say?
Yes, people are over it.
People are like, I hate this play. Let's get
people are done with it.
There's like too many now. They're like false starting before they go, and
no one's calling it.
Yeah, it's just I think people are over it. So my takeaway from last night's game is the tush push is getting banned this offseason in some form.
Yeah, they'll do something.
They'll do something to like, take out its legs or whatever. So
right.
But yeah, that's about it. I was going to say the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC, and then I don't think there are really any elite teams in the NFL this year. So this is a good opportunity for the Seahawks to kind of stake their claim. I mean, the Seahawks are number 1 in DVOA, which again it's a stat from FTN that I quote a lot. It's an efficiency stat that gives you a good idea of the strength of a team, and the Seahawks are number 1 right now but I think narratively they're not considered the best team in the NFL.
Correct. Well, the line opened up at 2.5. Is now it's jumped a point to 3.5.
Interesting.
So the Rams
People are on
now,
the Rams, or they're on the Seahawks.
Rams. So 3.5 right now are the Rams. So again, there you go.
Nice. It's gonna be a great one.
It is gonna be fun. 105 start there coming up on Sunday. All right, Danny Kelly. You can catch all of Danny's work up at the Ringer. You got a piece coming out later today at the Ringer on JSN.
I believe it'll be up Thursday. Just kind of giving you an idea of like the historic pace that JSN is on this year.
Great. So you can catch that, and then also all the podcasts everywhere, wherever you find your podcasts.
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we have shows. So check that out. I'll be recording a little bit later this afternoon our Wednesday show.
Okay. Get that. Let me see the jump shot. Let me see the.
Just
hand in the cookie jar.
I was a shooter. I was a shooter /
Yeah, you were.
I
think you guys all were shooters.
Yeah.
Something tells me. Boy, but
we were the Warriors before the Warriors. We were like all threes and
screens.
Yeah.
Just fundamentally sound.
Oh my God.
Always caught the ball in triple threat.
Oh, 100%. Coach McKee, who you mentioned earlier, he was a stickler for like repetition. His big thing, and this is if I ever coach my kids' teams, I'm going to be like, we would shoot like 150 shots, 200 shots every practice. It was like repetition. So anyway.
Well, I coach a middle school team. We start
practice. Just have them do 30 minutes of shooting drills. They'll get better.
No, all we do is rebounding and setting screens. I make them run the motion without the ball.
Oh yeah. Move away from the.
I make them run anytime they stand for more than a second. I make them run. Start moving. Stop standing around. All right, Danny. Love you. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, you too, man. I'll talk to you soon.
There he is, Danny Kelly from the Ringer. The Ringer NFL Fantasy Football Show, Draft Show, everything there with Danny Kelly. Our NFL coverage brought to you by Georgetown Brew. We got Hey What the Puck coming up here in just a quick second. On this day in the world of sports, though, we've been introducing this, things that happen. It doesn't have to be sports. It can be non-sports. Not a lot going on November 11th, other than being Veterans Day. And once again, on this day, November 11th, Veterans Day, thank you very much for everyone for their service. Again, we wouldn't be able to do what we do here. We wouldn't be able to say the things that we say and have the freedom to say the things that we can say and do, and without the brave men and women, past and present. So thank you to all of you. Thank you very much here on this Veterans Day. 1981. I was 5-ish. I barely remember this, but looking back on it, I remember what just such a huge deal this was in the world of baseball. Los Angeles Dodgers had a young pitcher, a rookie by the name of Fernando Valenzuela, Fernando Mania, and he became the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history, first rookie to win the Cy Young Award. Fernando Valenzuela, who not only just became a sensation in 1981, became a sensation in baseball, became a sensation for an entire country and culture, which is then led to that culture and that country being such huge Dodger fans, and the connection between Los Angeles and Mexico, large part because of the Fernando Mania and Fernando Valenzuela. On this day, 1981, the National League Cy Young Award winner became the first rookie to ever do so. Of course, Ichiro winning it in 2001, American League Rookie of the Year for a position player. All right, that is on this day, November 11th. All right, Hey What the Puck, but is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. We talked with Danny there, but we'll mention again, Sam Darnold can change the narrative about Sam Darnold on Sunday, at least put another new wrinkle on it. Because the last time he visited the Rams, it did not go well. Sacked 9 times, certainly not all his fault. Did not have a good day throwing the football. And the Rams went on to win a comfortable game there against the Minnesota Vikings and knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs when everyone thought they would advance and maybe even make it to the Super Bowl. It marred a fantastic season that the Vikings and Sam Darnold had. And it led people to think, oh, it's Sam Darnold again. That's the real Sam Darnold. It's the New York Jets Sam Darnold. It's I'm seeing ghost Sam Darnold. Well, Sam Darnold doesn't have to do it all himself on Sunday. He doesn't have to have some spectacular, brilliant performance. But he certainly can't have the type of performance where people will say after the game, if they lose, see, that's why you can't trust Sam Darnold. A lot of pressure on Sam Darnold on Sunday. I think more pressure than people are talking about, because I haven't heard a lot of chatter about it, than people realize of what individually it has on the shoulders of Sam Darnold Sunday against the Rams. A lot of pressure on him because he has a chance to change the narrative about how people view Sam Darnold, because how people view Sam Darnold is, it's still Sam Darnold. We don't trust him. We trust Matt Stafford, but not Sam Darnold. He can go a long ways with his performance on Sunday against the Rams of changing how people view him and whether people really, truly believe he's the type of quarterback that can lead a team to the Super Bowl. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Give them a call, 206-817-8917. Thank you for watching and listening to today's show. Big thanks to all of our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Flat Stick Pub, Georgetown Brewery, and, of course, Restoration One. You can find today's Daily Puck Up on YouTube. When you're there, please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, pass it along, leave a comment. Also, find the Daily Puck Up on your favorite podcast platforms. For your listening pleasure, Apple, Spotify, does not matter which one. Also, find everything up at pucksports.com, including the link to sign up to become a Pucks Posse member for just $5 a month. You support everything that we do here daily, plus we give you bonus shows every single week. Coming out later for Pucks Posse members, later this afternoon, a sit-down with Ryan Divish, Inside Pitch, Mariners beat reporter for the Seattle Times. He's in Las Vegas, covering the GM meetings. What is he hearing? Josh Naylor, Tarek Skubal, options at third. What are the rumors circulating around the GM meetings? We'll catch up with Ryan Divish. That episode, that podcast coming out later today, just only exclusively for Pucks Posse members. Also coming out later today, Old Crimson podcast with myself, the go-to guy, Jim Moore, and Paul Sorensen. We do a deep dive in the NIL. The question that we ask, try to figure out is, for such a passionate fan base, why does it not give any money? And we try to answer that on the Old Crimson podcast. All right, that's it for us here on a Tuesday, Wednesday show. The go-to guy is back, Jim Moore, and we'll talk more football with Rob Staten from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. We bid you adieu, as always. We promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out anyway.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!